Hi, I'm Whack.
Hey, and I'm Pat. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the weekly orbit the week ending Friday, June 28th. It's the last week of June. I got some news to share. I said I was going to hold the mustache until we got over 4,000 ETH and 40 on RPL. And as you see, it is kind of gone. And well, I was so tired of. I was like, man, what do I hate more, this stupid mustache or this range of prices we've been in? And so, I had someone tell me, Pat, you've always looked younger than your age, but now you look your age. And I was like, And then someone else told me, it does make you look older. I was like, I'm like, I can't take this anymore, and I can't take these prices. So then I'm like, I shaved everything, and then everyone's like, oh, I've never seen you shave before. And then you got to kind of get this like, reaction. I said, oh, that's it. I'm growing it back. The
Yeah,
experiment is over.
yeah. I'm just
Whack was
waiting
right.
for.
Whack was always
I'm
right.
I'm just waiting for Anthony Sasano to grow his beard back too. So
I
I think I'll
know.
be here in a few weeks' time.
I hope
Once
so.
you get the beard though, you can't not have a beard anymore. It's weird. Like it just
It's so
makes you.
much.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how guys, when you shave, you have to shave like every day or every other day. It's a lot of work, man. With the beard, like you get the beard trimmer out maybe once a week, maybe twice. Done. You keep it, and it's easy. You're done. Just like takes 35 seconds, and boy, it's a lot more maintenance. And then once in a while you cut yourself. You're bleeding. I don't know.
hmm Yeah.
Just go
It,
no shave November, but all year round.
but all year
Right?
round, exactly. That's the way to do it.
Tips for shaving. Number one, don't do it. Number two, see number one.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
So
the markets. It's just like I kind of tired of the range. To be honest with you,
it's
it's
horrible.
yeah. I mean we've been in this. I mean, there's two ways to look at it, right?
Yeah. Tell me.
When is this ever going to go up and take us to Valhalla? Or you're like, well, hey, this is an accumulation range. We've plateaued, so buy some more, because maybe down the road we'll be like, man, remember when it was 3,400 ETH? And remember when RPL was 20? Those were good times, man. I can't believe I got that at that price. So I guess there's two ways to look at it. But we've been in this range a while, and I think partly because we don't have any new inflows, really. We're just kind of trading amongst each other, all
Yep.
our crypto native friends. And the retail and the big institutions haven't come yet, but perhaps that might be changing. We've got perhaps the ETFs coming next week.
hmm
Um, you have any thoughts? Let's talk
Yeah.
ETF first.
So, yeah, the ETF, it looks like the word that's coming out of the different places is that the approval should happen today, trading happen next week. That's what it's looking like. We haven't heard
Hmm.
anything as far as like, that today we're recording on Friday, so we haven't heard anything so far today, but it could be that the announcement's made next week and trading starts the following week, with next week being a holiday in the US and it's a shortened week. So I honestly expect the ETF to go live within the next 2 weeks. So I'm kind of expecting that to happen, with based on all the things that we've heard, about the S1 forms and the back and forth between the applicants and the SEC. It looks like it's pretty much all done. So I can't see there being too many delays from here now. So hopefully that will happen soon. The thing to pay attention to is, like, Grayscale has billions of dollars of ETH in its trust, and there will likely be some sell pressure from that. So depending on how things go in those first few days, it might be that the prices might actually go down instead of going up. So
Mm.
that's something for us to brace ourselves for. It happened with the BTC one as well, right? Like, it pumped into approval, and then in the following days and weeks, it took a bit of a dip, and then once the inflows were really like solidly counteracting the outflows, at that point, BTC was able to climb. Now there's a whole lot of FUD about ETH. The ETFs are going to be a dead damn squib. Look at the futures ETF, it was terrible, blah blah blah. I think a lot of that is like significantly overblown. I think this will be incredibly bullish for those people who are paying attention. The signs are all there for this to be bullish. And now we just have to wait and see what happens. I think in the short term, prices will fluctuate. There'll be inflows, outflows, all that kind of stuff. The thing that we really need to be looking at is like what's happening over 3 months, what's happening over 6 months, what's happening over 1 year. That's when we'll get good ideas of where we stand with this ETF stuff.
Yeah, I think it's coming out of the gate. I think it's going to be, if my prediction, if you want one, is it's going to be a little slow. Next week is a holiday in the United States, July 4th. It's summer. People are on vacations. People aren't really paying attention to this stuff. People are outdoors. Anthony Sassano, I think he's talked about that in his show too. People are just you're not bunkered down in your house like we are in the colder months. And generally speaking, it's just a slower time of the year. And so I don't expect a huge bump. Perhaps you're right. Maybe there is a little sell pressure there. We've also got on the Bitcoin side, it just seems like there's always these big players looking to liquidate. Now we're talking about Germany selling their Bitcoin, and Mt. Gox is finally gonna distribute. So looks like there's some built up sell pressure that we're gonna have to get through here.
You missed the US government selling as well this week, so.
Oh yeah. That's right. Actually, I think the U.S. government is the largest holder of Bitcoin. I saw months ago.
As a nation state, yeah, that's still up.
They got a whole bunch. I can't remember how many.
210,000, I think, or 215,000 Bitcoin. Yeah,
that's a lot of Bitcoin.
Exactly.
And they're going to put it on They're going to sell it on Coinbase, which the SEC is suing for an illegal exchange that's selling unregistered securities.
Exactly.
You can't make this up. The irony,
The thing that I've been thinking about is how this market feels right now, and it really honestly reminds me of 2020. Like, ETH was crabbing around the 300 price range for months. Sentiment, was people just like, what's going on? All these other tokens have moved. ETH is not moving. What's happening with crypto? Like, is it dead? Like, people weren't sure what was happening after COVID, all this kind of stuff, with COVID still being in COVID at the time. And it was $300, like, going up and, well, once it went into the $300 range, it kind of went between like 450 to 300. It kind of like bounced around those numbers for quite a few months. It wasn't until the end of the year that we got like a breakout of that range. And that was like the accumulation zone, right? Like, that's kind of like what we're in right now. And if you have the conviction, then that's why you get rewarded later. So for me, like, I keep telling people, like, why are you guys like worrying about the price? Like, ETH is doing great. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just chilling at $3,400. That's incredible. But then those are the people who might have bought at 4,000. Those are the people who might have bought at 4,500. Even those who bought at 3,000, they're like, come on, do something.
Right.
That's kind of where we're at, I guess. So it's just a different perspective in the market. Like, we've been around for a while, right? Like, we were buying in 2020 and the times before that. So for me, I'm like seeing my ETH is like over 10x up, and I'm like, awesome, like, good job, ETH. Like, you keep at it. But I think that's part of it as well. Like, you have to see where that sentiment is coming from and who's making those sounds. Because I remember this thing I saw once. It was on Reddit's cryptocurrency page, and that was, at the time, it was going through a huge bearish slump, and everyone's like, crypto's garbage, it's terrible, prices aren't doing anything, blah blah blah, and all this kind of stuff. And then someone put a quiz there, and they're like, oh, what's your crypto portfolio worth? And I think like 60% of the people said like between $1,000 and $5,000. And I'm not putting shame on like smaller holders or anything, right? But it's a very different mindset when you own crypto in size compared to when you own like a small amount of crypto. And sadly, like, when people are amplifying their voices on social media and like, on crypto Twitter and all these other places, you don't know what their holdings are, what their perspective is, if it's the same as yours, but the sentiment impact that they have is the same, right? So these people complaining about crypto all day long, you don't know what their ETH average price is, what their portfolio is looking like, any of that kind of stuff. All you see is the negativity, and I think it makes a lot of sense to just kind of ignore it, like, in a lot of cases.
Because
but it's still tough.
I think we just need new flows, and if you're in it right now and you're frustrated, look at it the other way. Just it's an accumulation phase. You may never get a chance to buy, if we zoom out, the only, not financial advice, but the only way to accumulate wealth is you need to own assets.
Assets.
You can't become financially independent by just earning income or wages. You just can't. You need to own assets, real estate, crypto, something that's going to stocks,
Yep.
things that accumulate value over time.
And don't get debased with inflation.
Correct. And during that time, don't blow yourself up, of course. But Ethereum, crypto assets, it's like, it might be this generation's real estate that it was for our parents.
Yeah.
If we go back to the 80s, if you bought property back in the 70s and 80s and you're a boomer, you're sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity, on your property. Crypto could be this generation's real estate as it was for the boomers. It could be, it may not be, but it's just, in any event, no matter what, the only way you can achieve wealth and financial independence is you have to have accumulated assets that appreciate over time. This might be it. So anyways, I'm just kind of going on a tangent, but the point is hopefully we'll get some flows over the next 6 months. I think definitely ETFs are going to help with that. It just may take time. Don't, if you're one of those negative people and next Friday you're like, why isn't ETH like $5,000? We got the ETFs and what's going on? You're like, well, just give it some time. These things are a long-term benefit for the industry. And so keep perspective, but
absolutely. Let's
move on to just RPL price quickly. This really, we've retraced. We had a couple of weeks ago, a really great appreciation of price. Now we're back down to $20.18.
Yeah, if you go to the 1 month chart, you'll see a little bit better. We're still up, but it's not. Yeah, not looking too good.
Well, we're at point. The ratio was 0.006 about a month ago, and now we're at 0.0058. So what happened in here that we had a big drop a couple of days ago? Was there a big sell-off? How can we explain this?
Just alts getting decimated right now. The altcoin market is anemic. Like it's doing really badly. Like, we look at ETH, we look at BTC, and they're strong. But if you go down the ticket and look at any other tokens, like, they are getting pummeled. And some of them are at their all-time lows. Like, if you look at Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, ADA, like, these tokens were quite big in the previous cycles. They're at their all-time lows against ETH and BTC. If you look at even ETH ecosystem tokens, if you look at Arbitrum, look at Optimism, look at LDO, a whole bunch of these tokens are getting hit really hard. I think what happened is, RPL tried to break out of that cycle and wasn't able to, sadly. And this happens, and now the real test will be if we can try again and hopefully sustain it this time. It looked like it might, but just the crypto market just got pummeled, the wider market. I think that is what sadly caught RPL in this time.
Yeah, we were bucking the trend there for a while, but then if that trend just continues, and you kind of lose steam, right? If you try to break it out and you can't, because the broader market's just not going to allow you to do it.
No.
Okay, let's move on to some news from Langers here. He says, attention protocol DAO delegates will be releasing instructions to initialize on-chain voting on Monday. And it goes into some details. So this is one of the main upgrades from Houston is we're going to have on-chain voting, and you can select, if you'd like, a delegate, you can just vote on your behalf. And so that process has begun. And you are I think you're one of those delegates, aren't you?
Yeah. With me and Val and Joe, the three of us are like the biggest three delegates in the Rocket Pool ecosystem. So we actually sway, have a lot of votes between us. I think between the three of us, we have almost half the quorum. So
it sounds like Lido.
Not quite, because my votes are made up of dozens of people, and Joe and Val is dozens of people as well. So this was with the old system, with the gasless voting. So at that time you didn't have to pay anything to vote. With the new system going forwards, there will be a point where there will be voting with gas, so people expect that there'll be a bit more delegation happening there. But I think that's what we'll see is like there's a push to make sure that all the delegate stuff is sorted out and done properly. So when you'll have to go through the process again, basically. People might have delegated before, but now they'll have to delegate again. So this is the stuff that we needed to sort out. There was some issues with having people's node addresses set up, and now that that's done, then next week we'll see there'll be a Medium article that kind of explains how to delegate it, how the voting is going to work. So I think there'll be a flurry of people who will be getting their vote set up for next week.
Can we delegate to multiple people, or do you have to delegate to just one?
I don't think you can delegate to multiple people. No, okay. I think it's just one person. Yeah, as far as I know. But maybe we'll get more information in the article on Monday that will tell you how to do it. It might be possible, but I don't think so. I think it's just one.
Right.
That's how it was with the vote system.
As great as you are and Val, it's good to spread the vote delegation out to a wider range of folks, right? We don't want everything concentrated in just 2 or 3 people, voting.
It wasn't like I said. We between us we had about 2,600 votes, and quorum is 7,000. So
right.
In the grand scheme of things, we want the 3 of us were not that big a block. So even then, it's not like Lido, you know what I mean, where it's 1 or 2 people can come in and change everything completely. It still needs a chunk of people to vote a certain way. I think the minimum number of voting that would get you to quorum is 10 people, I think, or 12 people. And that's including some of our mega whales and all that kind of stuff as well. So it's still, a lot better than most. And when you understand that, those votes are in many of those cases, those votes are made up with dozens, if not hundreds of people. So it makes it a lot better.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. On to our next news item. Langer's here, as per RPIP-30, says the RPL withdrawal limit has been reduced to 60% from 100% of a node's bonded ETH. So, Whack, what is bonded ETH? So, does this mean if I'm floating around, what is it? Who can withdraw if they wanted to at this point? Why don't you explain that? Because I get a little confused between bonded ETH and collateral ETH, or bonded RPL, and
Yeah, so there's 2 numbers that you need to pay attention to. One is the node operator ETH, and one is the protocol ETH, right? So to be a Rocket Pool node operator, you need to bring 8 ETH plus 2.4 ETH of RPL, and then the protocol gives you 24 ETH. So the way that it works on the lower right side is that you have 10% of borrowed ETH is the floor at which you get rewards, and the upper limit is 150% of bonded ETH. So the most you could get rewards for is 12 ETH worth of RPL. Now that has changed under RPIP-30, where the upper limit kind of went away, but it's just the more you add to it, the less you get rewards per RPL. So no one really there's no need to go above that. I think the sweet spot was 70 or 80% collateral in terms of your bonded ETH. Now what's happened with this is if your validator has RPL that's worth more than 4.8 ETH, I think it is 4.8 ETH per validator, then you can remove your RPL down to that level. So there's not a lot of people that this is going to impact, because the majority of our node operators have less collateral than that amount. But I think eventually it's going to go away completely, down to 15%. So the thing is, we need a smart node change for that, which we don't have. So sorry, not smart node, smart contract change for that. So that will be one of the things that will go into Houston, but then it's just going to be taken away completely. Sorry, Saturn. That's just going to be taken.
Saturn 1 or Saturn 2?
Saturn 1, but that'll be taken away completely. So because the RPL requirement will become optional, so there'll be no lower bound anymore. So that's where we are.
Okay, we got a nice little under our next news item here, a little kind of mini airdrop, you might call it. This was, if we look at Etherscan, there was about 97, if I recall, folks who got some 80 RPL airdrop to their wallets. And it turns out that this was Kiln was, well, Nixo posted here that Kiln was a major public merge testnet on Ethereum. So this was a way to reward those 97 folks who helped. This would have been, how long ago? Oh, this is a while ago that this would have happened. And they got rewarded with 2022. Yep. So if you were one of those 97, you had a nice little 80 RPL dropped in there. Who exactly was the one dropping the airdrop? Who was distributing this? Was it just anonymous?
Yeah, at the moment the person is anonymous. So what happened is, 97 people got RPL. No one really knew what had happened. Nixo went and found those addresses. Obviously, you can just get them from Etherscan and check to see if they have POAPs. And all 97 of them had this Kiln Ethereum merge testnet POAP in common. So it turned out that the person basically was doing a retroactive airdrop to people who held a POAP, which is actually really, really exciting. And this is one of the use cases of POAPs that Fizz talked about in the past, where, people will do these cool things, or were, involved in something cool, or were present for something cool. And for that, eventually later you can just scrape that list of addresses and give them an airdrop. And the great thing about the Kiln airdrop was that, the POAP was, these were people who actually did work for Ethereum, right? Like, you went out there, you did a testnet for the merge, and you were got a proposal on the blockchain, and for that, you got a POAP just to say thank you. And now someone went back in time and found those people and gave them $1,700 each, which is really, really nice. So
that is really nice.
Yeah, that's a really nice thing that was done. So it was a nice little boost for some of the people in the Rocky Pool community. I think there was a handful of people in the community who got this, but it went to other people as well. It just happened to be RPL, so we still haven't figured out who the person was, but maybe we will one day.
Well, it'd be nice if we had multiple benefactors in the Rocky Pool community.
Well, this person in one fell swoop gave away more RPL than the benefactor has over all the different rounds. I think the benefactor's given away 3,000 RPL or 4,000 RPL, and this was 7,800 RPL, I think.
If you're the benefactor and you're listening, you've been up. You need to up your game, because you're now number 2 in terms of distribution of RPL. So. That's good. Anyway, so that's kind of cool that happened.
Yeah.
Speaking of airdropping, I just threw this in here. I had a tweet about, during this time where we're talking about a range, prices not really moving. If you're an alt, it's moving downward. But if you want to, and this is not financial advice, but I just threw this in as my personal L2 farming strategy, which is very similar to yours. I think you mentioned a couple of weeks ago. I use a native bridge. If you're doing an L2, you use a native bridge to send USDC to that you're going to be using for your buys. So use 2 to 3 DEXs to make your daily or weekly buys. Buy an NFT or two. LP a small amount on a DEX. Your goal is to create dozens of nonces using multiple protocols. Keep the funds on that L2. Don't move them off. So just my general strategy that I do for farming. It seemed to pay out well for ZK Sync. I'm doing it on Linea and Scroll as well. Hopefully, I think the idea here is that the founders of these protocols are looking for legitimate users, not Sybils. So if you're actually bridging, you're using their bridge, you're making buys regularly, even if you don't have a lot. The beauty with the L2's whack is that transactions are so cheap. So if you want to buy $50, every other day, or $25, you could. It's going to cost you pennies, and you just create those nonces. And so, anyways, I just want to throw that in there. I don't know if I think your strategy is pretty similar to this, isn't it?
Yeah, my strategy is virtually identical to this. I'm not actually farming anything right now actively, like I did with ZK Sync. That's the only airdrop that I've actually ever actively farmed. I'm doing some passive farming stuff with just depositing into Eigenlayer and Swell, and that's what I'm doing passively, but nothing else is active. I think the airdrop meta is kind of dying right now. We had the launch of ZK Sync, of course, a few weeks ago, and that didn't really live up to expectations. Then we had Blast. that was released yesterday, I think, or the day before, and that was actually like disappointing for a lot of people in terms of like what you got for your airdrop, and people like have been kind of over it, I think, maybe. I don't know. There's still money to be made, of course. You still can get decent returns, but the idea of like, I'm gonna airdrop farm and I'm gonna like get
Retire.
a good amount of money out of it. Yeah, exactly. It's not. It's looking less and less likely to be the case. How many wallets are you doing it with?
I'm just doing it with one, to be honest, because
So
I just don't.
you need to up your farming game.
Well, this is the thing. You try to balance the things in life, like how much time do I have, and with everything else. So, this is about as much I can do. I just don't have the time. But
Yeah.
everyone's different, right? This is my
Absolutely.
strategy. I do one wallet. To me, I'm trying to do it. You gotta do a lot of transactions, but I'm trying to simplify things for myself as well. If I start doing multiple wallets, it becomes more complex, more time consuming. So it all depends on how much time and effort you want to put in. All right, this is what I'm willing to do. If you're out there and you really want to hit it, you want to do 3-4 wallets, then by all means, go for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, on to our next thing. We've been talking tokenomics for months. 1kx dropped a big, I don't know what you call it, proposal, I guess it is, in terms of their idea of what tokenomics should be. And we don't have to go through all this whack. I just wanted to, I saw that we had some comments. I think generally, correct me if I'm wrong, 1kx still thinks there's a place for RPL to be like a requirement. And where the community seems to be heading is we want to make it an option and not a requirement. So you can still do it, but if you want to just do ETH only nodes, you can do that as well. So that seems to be like the dividing line in general.
Yep.
Do you have any just general thoughts on this 1kx proposal and thoughts on tokenomics?
I think, okay, so with the tokenomics proposal, that Val and Samus have worked on, you have to think about the fact that they have worked on this every day for the last 9 months, right? Like they've been putting the hours in with the community, and it's not just them, but a whole lot of other people as well have been putting in a lot of time and effort with getting these tokenomics to be the best version of themselves. Now, in that time, we've had 2, maybe 3, and like a couple of half-hearted attempts at other people kind of presenting alternative visions of what the tokenomics should be. Now, we had NodeSet do that a few months ago. Now we've got 1kx doing this. In the meantime, we've had a couple of other community members kind of like trying to put forward visions. The fact of the matter is, in the marketplace of ideas, you have to be there championing your idea or have other people championing your idea. If you don't have that, your idea could be the best idea in the world, but it's not going to gain any traction unless you've got cheerleaders coming out there and explaining your idea and making sure that people understand it, being there consistent, answering questions, being present. NodeSet didn't do this, right? They said, we've wrote this paper, this is what we think, we're going to criticize this, we're going to criticize that, and this is our suggestions. And then we haven't heard from them since. You know what I mean? With 1kx, Miley's been around a little bit more, but I think they can't do enough now to battle the momentum that the team has, the community has, the team has, the moves that we've already made towards this. They'd need a lot of momentum to be able to like reverse the course of the ship. Like we were mentioning last week, right? When when the flow is going a certain way, it's really, really difficult to counter that flow. That's the position these guys have found themselves in now, where even if their ideas were really good, it would take a whole lot of energy to flow the other way, like to move the direction that we've all been moving in. Now the thing is, even that said, even the quality of their ideas has some question marks, right? So they've gotten some criticism, some feedback about the limitations of their proposal. And then that's not to say that, this is a bad proposal or anything like that. But the fact is that, if there was unanimous agreement on this proposal, even then it would be like a Herculean effort to change the direction. But the fact that there's still some hesitance from those people, like, shows you that the task to to adopt this is going to be incredibly difficult. Now, one of the things that is in common with the 1kx proposal, as it was with the NodeSet one, is this requirement of having RPL, and both of them want RPL to exist. And we have to okay, I think there's a little bit of motivated criticism here or proposal, because 1kx are proposing that they set up some kind of RPL vault that people can borrow from, and NodeSet, of course, want to have an RPL vault that people can use for their staking, right? And that then you have to think, are these guys? I'm not trying to cast aspersions, but I'm just asking the question. You have to think, what is the motivation, right? What is the motivation here when the whole community says that we want RPL to be optional, but these guys are saying we want RPL to be mandatory. But here we have a service that will help you with RPL that we'll take a percentage of. At that point, are they saying it because of their own biases, or are they saying it because this is what they think is best for the protocol? Now, you guys can make your own.
Yeah,
absolutely, it could be both. Absolutely, it could be both. Right.
They really think that, so they're going to provide a vault.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm not trying to cast aspersions on anyone or criticize anyone, but I'm just saying that it's a very, very, very difficult task now to adopt a different way of thinking. And the thing that you have to remember as well, you've got months and months of work going into this. The spec for the Houston upgrade, as the community has worked on, is pretty much set now. These last things getting ironed out. To do this would set us back months, and then Lido CSM is going on to testnet next week or the week after. So you have to think to yourself, where are we and what path are we choosing? And it's not. If a better proposal comes along that's drastically better, I think there's still time to potentially change course, but we've not seen that yet. So yeah,
and I think the market has spoken in a way that there's a lot of participants out there who don't want to use RPL, and so that was kind of the genesis of a lot of this rethinking was, how do we tap into a market in which there's participants who they like the idea of a permissionless, decentralized staking protocol, but they just don't want exposure to a token. They just want to stick with ETH. How do we provide a service for those folks while at the same time maintaining some type of RPL value for those who have staked with it all along, right? I think that's where we're at, and it seems like the tokenomics we've come up with strikes that balance. We're going to open ourselves up to a new market of folks who want to stake without RPL, but at the same time reward those RPL stakers too. I think just that's the big general idea here, right? So, speaking of NodeSet, they had a really great, exciting announcement this week, and I wrote here, Rocket Pool's on deck. NodeSet is excited to announce the launch of Gravita, a bespoke LST built in partnership with Gravita and Stakewise. And so here was, I guess this is the proof of concept. This is the first where validators are validating on behalf. I think they got how many? A dozen? It's a relatively small number, right?
Yeah, so they've actually got a lot of node operators lined up, and they're just waiting for ETH to come in to
validating.
Yeah, at the point on the screenshot, there was 9 of them then, but there's a bit more now.
Okay.
Yeah, because they've got more ETH deposited.
Yeah, so this I think is exciting because it shows that they actually shipped the product, NodeSet, right? And now Constellation is up on deck next. That would be for Rocket Pool. And so this is progress forward. I'm happy for Nick and Wanderer and NodeSet and everyone who's been working so hard. And Joe's now I guess full-time member of NodeSet. So quick thoughts on NodeSet.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the guys. I know they've worked really hard to get to market, and it's been slow going at times because it's really tough to build these products. But they have a market. They have a product on market now, which is really cool. We have to remember that GravETH is a competitor to RETH, that's one thing. And this product has nothing to do with Rocket Pool, right? The one that has to do with Rocket Pool is Constellation, which, like you said, is up next. And we're hoping to get that in September, hopefully, if everything goes well. But it might be with with these delays that come with development, it might be, later than that, like maybe into October. Hopefully not as late as November, but potentially a little bit later. So the thing is that these guys are doing really cool stuff, and that is incredibly exciting. And with Constellation, though, that's the main thing that I'm looking forward to. But until then, they've shipped. Shipping is great. Shipping begets more shipping, so that is huge kudos to them. And I think they did a good job with it.
Yeah, actually, that's my win for the week was NodeSet, and I'm happy that they shipped the new product. They showed that the concept works. It isn't Rocket Pool yet, but we're on deck. We're next, and I think that's going to be very exciting for us. They have almost like an L2 built on top of Rocket Pool to help us expand and grow. So do you have go ahead.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think Constellation, their product for Rocket Pool is going to be a much bigger product as well. So this one, so far they've gotten in around 700 ETH, I think it is that right now, after a couple of days of launch. I think with their Rocket Pool product, it could potentially be like order of magnitude higher than that, because that's the product that people want from them, really. And I think this was just a little bit of a stopgap just to get something launched, get some money coming in, all of that good stuff. But their main thing, I think, that they're looking forward to is Constellation. I think that's going to be the big one.
Do you have a win for the week?
I've got 2 wins for this week.
Uh-oh.
So the first one is we had our first Houston marriage. Now, it wasn't a whale marriage, and it wasn't one of those big institutions that we've been kind of talking about. It was Snow and Hululo. But it's really cool that they were able to set up a marriage. Hululo provided the RPL, Snow provided the ETH. I think they've got 6 or 7 validators, so it's really cool that they're doing this. So huge shout out goes to Snow and Hululo for their matrimony. The second one is
you could say that name, because I still get
Hululo. Hululo. They just get shortened. Anyway. Yeah, Hululo. Yeah.
I can't say it.
It's okay. Just call him Halu. That's fine too.
Hello. I'm going to say hello. Yeah. So what's your second win?
The second win is I hired someone for Rocket Fuel. I hired the Rocket Tool, which is the Rocket Fuel intern, and it's chaotic and it's a mess and it's absolutely beautiful and I love it. I think I was kind of jealous of Dave having the Rocket Pool intern locked up in his basement. So I locked up an intern in my basement now, and I've got them doing all sorts, like just going wild with crazy stuff. Like they're clipping content from episodes and getting them out there. They're shit posting, putting out memes, replying to like crypto stuff. It's really cool. Like it's early days. I think the intern's still finding their feet, but we're doing a little bit of a test for a few months and seeing how things work. But I think they're going to be bringing lots of fun and like feistiness to Rocket Fuel and Rocket Pool that we might be missing a little bit. What's really funny is like on the day that people kind of found the intern, right away there was like some edgy meme or comment that was put out, and LFO was like, people like, is this Whack doing it? And LFO was like, this is definitely not Whack.
No,
it's not me. Like my mind doesn't work that way. It's definitely not me. So yeah.
Right.
But
I've seen it's really fun. Great. It looks good.
Yeah,
I mean, I've enjoyed you have somebody who can step in and is really good and savvy at social media and throw out some edgy stuff, and it's not all edgy. It's just sometimes just getting your message out there from Rocket Fuel. That's good.
So it's
that's cool.
It's a trial at the moment. It's a trial, and we'll see how it goes. And then maybe I'll keep the intern locked up forever, or maybe I'll set them loose at some point. But it's fun so far, and that's a nice little win for me.
Well, that's a good win. And so thanks for joining us, listening. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hopefully next week we'll be talking about the ETF launch for Ethereum, and we'll have a little better price action, but perhaps not. We'll see. But thanks for joining, and Mark, we'll see you next week too. And good luck with the intern.
Thank you so much. Bye.
All right. Bye.